Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're going to be doing my July bullet journal theme. A bunch of people in my TikTok comments requested that I do the Olympics for a bullet journal theme for July, and I think that's what I'm gonna do. I will say I asked for bullet journal theme ideas for July and I got so many good ones this month, and I always like to remind everyone that even if I don't pick the theme that you suggest, I always put all the good ideas onto a list on my phone to reference in the future, so I don't want you to think that didn't think your idea was good. I thought so many of the ideas were good that I couldn't decide. So I ended up picking the Olympics because I feel like this is the time to do it. It only happens every 4 years. It's gonna start in July. I feel like it's the time to do it. I absolutely love watching the Olympics. My favorite sport to watch is gymnastics, of course, and I'm so excited to see Simone Biles back at the Olympics this year. I started yesterday by making a little Pinterest board for some inspirational pictures because I feel like the Olympics always has the coolest branding. Even if it's not like the official branding of the event, all of the posters for the Olympics through the years have been so cool. So I started out by pinning a lot of cool posters that have really cool design on them. So as always, the first thing we're gonna do is take a look in my Pinterest board to see what inspiration we can find. Okay, I always have to point out that the audio and video probably changed a little bit because I switched from my camera to my phone. I know you probably don't care, or maybe you don't even notice, but I have to point it out. Anyway, this is my Pinterest board for July. At the bottom here, I pinned a couple of things that are unrelated because I was trying to decide which theme I wanted to do. Somebody commented that I should do like a summer camp theme, which I loved the idea of. My last month's theme when I did Bonnaroo, there was some camping themes there, so I didn't really want to like do that. I feel like it was too close to that, which I just did last month. Somebody else commented that I do like a vintage Americana theme, which I loved for July 4th. I don't think I want to do it because I feel like Olympics is more topical. It only happens once every 4 years, so I feel like now is the time to do it. We have a lot more of the ideas. My computer is huffing and puffing. I'm going to try and move it away from my microphone. So I love the idea of using the Olympic rings colors because they are the perfect colors. As I mentioned in the intro, I saw a lot of really cool posters. I really love this one. This is like a very simple, almost like modern illustration of a bunch of sports like the tennis, archery, golf. I also saw these, which are stamps from 1972 from the Olympics in Munich. And I love the design of these too. They're very simple and sleek and cool. I like a lot of these that have illustrations of athletes, but in a very slick way. Like this one is super cool. These almost look like bathroom signs, you know? They're very simple. Love the colors. I saw this one, which are some cool symbols for all of the sports. I really love this. I don't even know what this is. SCP marks. I don't know what that is. But this is a really cool design of all of these different athletes in different colors, which I really like. I feel like this is going to be a good theme to use my Posca paint markers to get really like solid colors. These are cool too. These have a little bit more detail, but they're also very cool. I also pinned just some other cool posters. Like this is cool. This one is cool. I like the idea of like drawing an Olympian like this, kind of like a gold statue with the crown and the Olympic rings, which is cool. I don't know if I'm skilled enough to draw something like that. This is a really cool subtle illustration of some people. This is from Barcelona 1992. I love these Olympic rings that are like concentric circles. Those are cool. I also love really simple design like this where they use the colors of the Olympic rings but like in a different way. Like here it's the stripes, which are really cool. This one is cool. I keep saying cool. I need to think of another word. I also love this simple USA text with the Olympic rings, and this one from Tokyo is really cool too because it uses the Olympic rings but in a really unique way. That's all my inspiration for my Pinterest board. I think I need to start sketching. Probably do my divider page first like I usually do and see what we come up with. I definitely want to do something like color blocked like with the Olympic rings. I was thinking about doing something similar to either my Eras Tour theme, which I'll put a picture on the screen of, or my Lollapalooza theme from last year where the divider page is kind of like different little blocks and they each have like their own color, highlight different sports. I feel like could be cool in a way to incorporate a lot of different sports and a lot of different colors on the divider page in a very clean and sleek way. Okay, I'm gonna start sketching. Okay, so I just did something that I don't always do, and even when I do it I feel like I don't always show it. I did some thumbnail sketches I want my divider to look like, so I'm gonna show you those. I just did them here on a sticky note. Sometimes I'll do it in my sketchbook. This one, so this is like meant to be the divider page. This one would be the columns and rows of the little boxes that would each have like a different sport in them. And I was thinking about doing it where like this column would be blue and then yellow, then black, then green, then red, because that's like the order that the Olympic rings go in. This is like an exact drawing of that illustration poster that I saw of the torch. And then these stripes were each of the colors for the Olympic rings. And then I thought that I could combine two designs that I really liked into one, where this one would have this like stripe effect, the multicolored stripes, and then this big block in the center would just remain white. And then I would do the illustrations of each of like 5 different sports silhouettes that are kind of overlap over each other, like that other poster that I showed. And I think I'm gonna go with this one. So I'm gonna try and sketch it out first, and then we'll see if it looks good. So I started sketching and I very quickly realized, I don't know what was wrong with my brain this day, but I was having so much trouble visualizing how I wanted all of these athletes' bodies to look when they were like composited on top of each other. So I decided to work smarter, not harder, and therefore I'm bringing you a very bad Photoshop tutorial on how I made a template for myself. So basically I grabbed a bunch of those little athlete bodies that I liked from one of the Pinterest photos that I pinned, and I basically selected the ones that I wanted, and I used the magic wand tool to kind of cut them out. If you don't use Photoshop, this is like a very easy thing to do. I used magic wand to cut each of them out, and then I kind of cleaned up each of my cuts using just the eraser tool. It was pretty simple, and my idea here was that I was going to make a little tracing template that I would make in Photoshop and then print and use to like trace around to actually get the image that I wanted in my journal at the size that I wanted. That's usually the issue that I have with stuff like this, is like actually getting it to be the right size. So here, this is like very slow, but this is me cutting out all the individual guys. After that, I basically isolated each of them onto their own layer, and I can't remember what this lock function is called, but one of the lock layers makes you able to just like scribble inside, and it will just make you not color outside the lines, basically. I turned each of them one of the Olympic ring colors, and then I put them on top of an image that I took of my journal so that I could like rearrange them nicely without having to like draw and erase, into a format that they would fit inside of that little weird shaped white box. And basically what I did was then I just turned all of them black, put them onto an 8.5 by 11 sized canvas in Photoshop, and then printed it. It actually worked out really well, and I hate to tell you that I actually ended up hating how it looked in my journal. Here I am trying to cut it out to use it as a template, and then I realized halfway through doing this, I was like, wait, why am I trying to cut out all these tiny little shapes when I can just do that tracing thing? I don't know what this is called. If you've never done this before, this is actually a really great technique if you're trying to like use something as a template, where basically you'll print something, you draw really hard around the outlines of something with a pencil on the back side of an image, place it down on what you're trying to transfer it to, and then just scribble on the front side of it, and it transfers like the pencil marks from the back side of that piece of paper onto your desired like final piece of paper. We learned about this in art school. I can't believe I never did this before. But honestly, this is a really great method to use if you have a hard time freehanding things. It's always a great thing to do, and you still drew it yourself. You didn't just like print something out and completely copy it. But like I said before, I hate to tell you that I hated it. I had a mini breakdown. I also was trying to do this all in one day, which is usually not my jam. So I had to take some time away from filming and take a break, have a snack, sketch something new for my divider page, and then come back to it. So this is what I finished. Well, I didn't finish. This is what I ended up going back to. I loved the idea of using the Olympic colors in this cool, I feel like the shape kind of reminds me of like a track loop. What is it called? Just a track, I guess. But it was in the Olympic colors. It was also giving retro, which I love. And I ended up using my Posca paint markers to fill in all of the colors of this because I want it to be very solid and graphic, which I think it ended up being. I also, as you can see there, illustrated a hand holding the Olympic torch, which was from one of the posters that I saw on Pinterest. and I kind of illustrated a little bit differently, and I added the word July on the torch itself because I needed to have the label for the month. But my idea for this was I wanted to have that super graphic background where the colors are super punchy, super crisp lines, and then the, like, I guess subject of the image coming out of the front would be in a lot more like rendered detail. So I really took time, you'll see later, actually articulating the hand, putting a lot of time and effort into blending colors to make it look really realistic. And then for the actual torch itself, I ended up using some glittery, shiny reflective gel pens, so that it really like pops off of the background. And there's a really cool distinction between like the graphic background but also bringing forward the subject of the hand holding the torch. Here I am going in with the gel pens, and honestly I feel like this actually worked out really well. I hadn't really planned on that being like the artistic vision behind this before I started doing it. I was kind of just going with the flow, but honestly I feel like that's when I make my best creative decisions, is when I'm like, okay, the thing that I really tried hard and tried to work smarter, not harder to do didn't work out, so I need to think of something else. I feel like usually that's when I like have a good breakthrough idea, but you have to, you know, have a dumb, well, it wasn't a dumb idea. I liked the idea, it just like didn't look good, so I had to change it. But yeah, and then I also used my red Posca marker to fill in the letters where it says July, and I feel like that really makes it super punchy and cool. Using gel pens on a space that large is always a nightmare. Like, it takes so long to do it, and it always looks like streaky like this, but I did go over it later with another layer. And then I also used some Tombow dual brush pens on top of the gel pen to kind of give it dimension. Like, I used a black one on top of the silver to like give it some shadow, which I think actually looked pretty cool. Here I am drawing the hand. This kind of thing I never would like do voluntarily, because I just am not a great realism artist, as you've probably gotten to know over the years of me making these videos. But I actually am really proud of how this turned out. I did use that original poster as a reference for drawing the hand. It doesn't look that similar, but I am really proud of how it turned out. If you are interested in doing stuff like this, the Tombow dual brush pens are actually a great thing to use because they blend so beautifully together. They're very forgiving, and they're just very easy to use, beginner friendly, more than like alcohol markers are. If you didn't know, Tombow dual brush pens are water-based. And I also use my Tombow pens to do the flame at the top of the torch, which ended up looking really cool. I feel like the key to doing stuff like this is just do lots of layers with lots of different colors. And I also ended up going over the top of this flame with a gel pen, the gold gel pen, to kind of give it some like sparkle, and when you like move the page back and forth, it really, really shines, which I think looks so cool. Anyway, I also moved on to my calendar page here. I wanted to use that like cool stripy theme that was my original idea for the divider page. And since it didn't work out for the divider page, I was like, I'll just put it on here because the calendar page header is like very low stakes. It's very small amount of space to fill in. So I did that, and I also used those same like varsity letter type font for the header on here. And I also used that little, I don't know what it's called, the crown that the Olympian wears, that's like leaf crown. Oh my god, you can't even see what I'm doing here. I'm so great. I'm such a great filmmaker. Anyway, I used that little leaf crown as a kind of an accent on a couple of the pages, and I think it ended up looking really cool. I always added it in either a gold or silver gel pen. Then I started working on my habit tracker and goals page. Well, I guess I don't even really need to call it a goals page anymore because I don't write goals on that page very often anymore. But I wanted to use a combination of two fonts. So I used that like varsity font that I showed before, and I also combined it with that really skinny font that was giving me like, I don't know, Swedish type design, mid-mod kind of vibes, which I feel like is very Olympic for some reason. And then on this page, I wanted to do a similar thing where there was a graphic colored background in the color of the Olympic rings. And then the subject, which is this hand holding a tennis racket, is more well rendered with like lots of detail. And then the object, the tennis racket, is in the gold and silver gel pen. I feel like it looks so cool. I really like that design theme throughout these pages. It ended up looking really cool. And you'll see later in the video, I did a much more detailed version of it on the illustration page. Also for these Olympic rings, I copied something that I saw on Pinterest that was using these kind of like lines to make the rings a little bit cooler. I just filmed the whole thing and then I just watched it back and my camera was zoomed in like to this much of my face the entire time. So I'm just gonna refilm like an entire 5-minute clip. I have done 3 of the 5 pages I needed to do in my journal. Usually I give myself more time than I have this month to get things done. I usually try to give myself at least a week to do all of my things because sometimes when I have a creative rut, I want to have that time to like give it space, let myself breathe, think about things, come back to it. But that did not happen this month. It's been actually crazy. And today is Friday, June 28th. So I have to have this done by Monday. It is Friday. But I have a little bit of a busy weekend, so I'm hoping to get it done all in one day, which I have not done in a very long time. Before I filmed things for YouTube, I was able to do stuff like this in one day and it was no big deal. And also I didn't care as much about getting all the pages done by the first of the month. Anyway, I need to take a little break to like get a snack and stuff before I continue working on my last 2 pages. But before I go get my snack, I wanted to do a little chit chat where I tell you a little update about me. I don't share a lot about my personal life on YouTube. I know I do vlog sometimes, but usually that's for like a specific event. Like I just vlogged at Bonnaroo, but I don't like vlog my regular daily life. So I don't know how much you actually know about me, but I did just share on Instagram this past week that I quit one of my jobs. I have had 2 what I call regular jobs for about 2 years now. What those two jobs are have kind of like rotated in and out, but I just quit one of my regular jobs. Before this past week, my 2 regular jobs, I worked a retail job, which is the one that I just quit. I have a design and illustration job for a company that I love and I do remotely, so I do that at home. Do commission and freelance work that is all design and illustration video based. That is more like project by project. People will come to me and be like, hey, can you do this project for me? And I'll say yes. So that is less regular. That's why I don't refer to it as one of my regular jobs. And then I also do consider doing TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as a little bit of a job because I do make a little bit of money on there and it takes up a lot of my time. Last week I quit my retail job. I never shared where I worked before because I didn't want it to be public information because there are creeps out in the world. But now that I don't work there anymore, I can tell you that I worked at Anthropologie, the clothing store. Feels very weird to say because I would never have shared that before. If you've noticed in the description of all of my videos, I always list what I'm wearing and like where it's from because that's like a really common question that I get on social media is like, where's that thing that you're wearing from? So I just started putting it in the descriptions of all my videos so you can find it. A lot of the clothes that I wear are either from Anthro or Free People or Urban Outfitters because you get a very good discount if you work for that company. If you didn't know, those 3 stores are owned by the same company. So yeah, if you're looking for a retail job that you get a good employee discount, I definitely recommend working at one of those stores because the employee discount is 40%. So now you know, that's why I own a lot of clothes from those stores. Anyway, I just thought it was important to bring it up because if you are a creative person out there, I'm sure that you have to have some sort of side hustle, or maybe being creative is your side hustle because it doesn't pay the bills. And I get that. It's definitely a struggle trying to balance doing everything all at once. I've definitely realized that working multiple jobs, clearly this is how it is, gives me so much less time and energy to work on creative things that make me happy and are just for me and our personal projects and that are not for work. Really recognized that I was missing that because I was always running out of the house to go to a shift or just like feeling so behind on everything that I never felt able to just like take time to work on stuff that's just for me. So I'm excited to have that time back to do that, but also dedicate that to making stuff for YouTube and for TikTok and for Instagram because I do really love doing stuff like that too. But if you are a creative out there who has multiple jobs and feels like you're drowning, I got you. I know what it's like. It's hard. You'll get through it. Sometimes there are days where I was just like, I need to prioritize doing something for me, making something fun. I know I should probably be working on something to improve my business or like need to catch up on work, but I'd be like, okay, you know what, I just need to set aside time and like do a craft. Do a fun page in my bullet journal that's just for me, take an hour and do that, be creative, because really that is what gives me the energy to like do all of the other stuff that I have to do. That's my little chit chat session. And now you know that about me. I'm gonna go get my snack now and then we'll go go back to working on my last couple pages. The last 2 pages that I had to work on were my illustration and my moments page. For the illustration page, I knew I wanted to illustrate my Queen Simone Biles, and I used another graphic element of the Olympic colors in this kind of like rainbow thing. And then I did the same thing where she was in like a rendered skin tone and the beautiful gel pen. For the moments page, I did a similar stripey thing where the Olympic colors were in these like color blocked starburst shapes going out to the edge of the page. It was a very simple design element, but I feel like it really packs a punch. That's what I like about doing like really simple themes like this. As long as like you have a design pattern that is really cool to look at, it doesn't matter if it's simple. It will like go with the theme, and I don't know, it just like looks really cool on the page. I also love using Posca markers for stuff like this because it really, like I said before, gives it that like graphic, thick, really opaque color that I feel like makes themes like this work really well and look really cool. And then I used my gel pens to like add some little details on this page. Okay, don't mind that I just switched back to my phone. My SD card on my camera was full and I wasn't going to change it just to show you the final reveal. I know my camera cut off in the middle of working on my illustration page, but I usually like to, you know, do some of that off camera. I feel like it helps me be more creative and make better decisions, and also I feel like it makes for a better reveal at the end because you didn't see the entire thing. I know this was kind of an up and down video. I really went back and forth with some ideas, but I actually do really like how it turned out. This reminds me a lot of themes that I would do like 2 or 3 years ago that are a lot more simple. I am very simple graphic shapes and aren't like a gigantic masterpiece endeavor the entire time, which is honestly very refreshing. And I feel like it just looks cool. So let me show you the final reveal. Also, this is the state of my desk. So here is my beautiful divider page. I actually really do like how this turned out, and I think that these Olympic rings and the text here really makes it. And also this torch is so sparkly. I feel like it just like, I don't know, it really comes alive off of the page. Here is my illustration in my calendar page. I marked off the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Also, I just realized it like literally doesn't start until the end of the month, but whatever. And I also alternated between these 2 fonts. This one that is kind of like a varsity font, and then this like very simple straight text, which I think looks cool. Of course, I had to illustrate Queen Simone Biles. I love her. I love this gold leotard. I love the shading on her skin. It looks amazing. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And here is my habits and my moments page. I really just like all of the play with the Olympic colors where they're not just in the regular Olympic rings. I feel like it's a really cool way to like play with the concept without like sticking to something that's really boring. Like here we have these that kind of look like rackets, kind of. This like the stripes on this page. I feel like they just look really cool. Anyway, these are really simple, but I really like them. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more from me, more from my everyday life, definitely follow me over on Instagram and on TikTok, where I post a lot more frequently. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.